African continent to Nigeria. Is Femi in the room? Femi is over there. Whoa! The man who clearly needs no introduction. So all I'm going to do is say the title, because this title is so intriguing. It's about accelerating the journey to infinity. And of course, Femi Longe is the founder of B-Trust Builders. Femi, not the founder, co-founder, CEO, secretary? Secretary. Please welcome to the stage the secretary of B-Trust Builders, Femi Longe. Best of luck, man.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Femi. I struggled to find a title for the talk, so I called it Accelerating Journey to Infinity. I thought of calling it Accelerating Journey to Mass Adoption of Bitcoin, but as I go, you'll understand what I mean by infinity. I got into Bitcoin about 2 years ago, so I'm relatively new here. But prior to coming into Bitcoin, I've worked with startups for years, for the last 15 years in Nigeria. And startups that solve real human beings' problems, but that could also make money in the purpose, at the same time. Since joining Bitcoin, right now I run B-Trust Builders, which is a program that trains African software developers and helps them make the journey to become Bitcoin developers and open source Bitcoin developers. Because I believe that this technology is groundbreaking, but it will be a shame if Africa doesn't engage this technology like producers rather than consumers like we have with most waves of technology in the past. And so what we do at B-Trust Builders, like I said, is we find developers. So Monday, 4 days ago, we actually started a new cohort. We have 55 engineers from across Africa that are going through a 3-month program to become Bitcoin developers. But today I want to talk about, and I've heard a number of the speakers have talked about how it's going to take a long time, decades, for us to get to that stage where people can use Bitcoin, spend their Bitcoin, and have everything denominated in Bitcoin. Today I want to talk about how I think we can actually make that journey happen faster, and what kind of paradigms and things and ways in which we're thinking as Bitcoiners in this space may actually be slowing down that journey, and what we can actually do to accelerate. So, in one of my readings, I saw that sound money, good money, typically should have 3 core functions: as a medium of exchange of value, as a means to store value, but also as a unit of account. I've been saying this since late last year, but I feel in Bitcoin we have an identity crisis. There's an obsession of Bitcoin or with Bitcoin as an investment asset, a store of value, and it influences a lot of the conversations we have in Bitcoin, a lot of the innovation we have in Bitcoin, a lot of the way we see this, as against the purpose of Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. I tend to feel, at least this is my personal feeling, that when Satoshi put out that white paper, at least from what I read, the aim wasn't how do I create digital gold. It was a peer-to-peer means of cash transaction, which in many ways embodies what that medium of exchange function should be. Unfortunately, if you use Bitcoin Twitter, if you use conferences in Bitcoin as a means of a barometer of where people's minds are, there's this heavy skew towards the store of value. There's the obsession about, oh, we have the Bitcoin ETFs. Look at all the drama around price, whether it's going up or it's going down. To the point where we've actually eclipsed conversations around Bitcoin as a means of exchange, or even Bitcoin as a unit of account. I think that's the wrong way to go about it if we're really interested in adoption of the currency. If I think from the point of view of the person in Africa, which is my constituency, that's looking at money, which is the way I tend to look at life and look at people. I think if we really want to scale this currency, we need to find balance in the argument. So this is my encapsulation of what I see as the typical flow of transactions at the moment, if you look from the point of view of a human being. You have an infinite number of ways that you can earn, but most times in fiat. And then you're expected to convert that fiat, at least that's what we Bitcoiners want. We want you to convert that fiat to Bitcoin. But then when you want to spend on the things that actually improve your quality of life every day, you still have to convert that Bitcoin to fiat. While it may seem like Bitcoin is the center of this conversation, actually that's not true. For the average human being, fiat is actually the center of the conversation. Because for the things that they earn, the things they have, and the things that they use, it all still has to go through fiat. And so while we think Bitcoin is in the center, unfortunately, the way we're looking at Bitcoin right now, we keep centering fiat. And for as long as we're centering fiat, the journey to mass adoption is going to take a very long time. A lot of our conversations in Bitcoin focus typically on that area of the conversion. How do you convert your Bitcoin to fiat? How do you convert your fiat to Bitcoin? And all the things that we end up building in Bitcoin end up being things that service that paradigm. Wallet, exchange. Wallet, exchange. I think we have more than enough multi-sig wallets. We don't need any new wallets. Because I think there are bigger fundamental problems that human beings have that we can be innovating around. That we need more energy, more focus of attention, rather than how do people convert their fiat to Bitcoin and how do they convert their Bitcoin to fiat. Because unfortunately, this focus is also the point of failure in Bitcoin as it is right now from a human standpoint. The time when you have to convert your Bitcoin to fiat or the time when you convert your fiat to Bitcoin is when you're subject to volatility risk. I like the point that the last speaker made around it's not actually Bitcoin that is volatile, it's actually fiat that is volatile. But if people have to do their spending in Bitcoin, then they are conscious of the time when they came in and the time when they went out. But it's also a problem because at the moment, there are two primary ways at the moment. Maybe there's a third, but it's not properly developed for people to get Bitcoin. For the vast majority of us, we have to convert our fiat to Bitcoin. Yes, there's mining, but the economics of mining, only a few people can actually play there. Eric is printing money as he sits here. For the rest of us, the ability to earn Bitcoin is actually what takes Bitcoin to the level where it needs to get to. Where I don't have to earn in fiat and then convert that fiat to Bitcoin. Because what that is causing right now, and people looked at the Bitcoin ETFs and were rejoicing, I felt dread. Because the guys who won in the fiat world, we're now giving them the opportunity to now win in the Bitcoin world. Because they're basically taking all the fiats that they got in that world through the money printer and buying up Bitcoin. Yes, Africans can come in with $5, but in the grand scheme of things, what power dynamics are we creating in the Bitcoin world by that paradigm? And what's the effect of that going to be in 5 years, in 10 years' time? At that point of conversion is also where you have problem with the user experience. That's where all conversations around should you self-custody or not self-custody come to play. That's where you also have the fear of scam. And for lots of people in Africa, they won't touch Bitcoin with a 10-foot pole. Because in the past, someone have told them, put your fiat in this thing, the price is going up. Except that he needed the money, and he converted his fiat to Bitcoin at the top of the curve. And then now the price is down, and he has a financial need that is immediate. And so he's had to liquidate. And as far as it's concerned, this was a scam. We diminish Bitcoin as currency when we get obsessed about Bitcoin as a store of value and an investment asset. For me, this is the ideal flow. in the ideal world, in the world we should actually aspire to, where we should focus our energy on, people should have an infinite number of ways that they can earn Bitcoin. Earning Bitcoin should actually be the default, not buying Bitcoin with fiat. So if you're a plumber, you should be able to do your plumbing and earn Bitcoin. If you're a designer earning on Upwork, you should be able to get paid in Bitcoin. You shouldn't have to learn currency trading, which is a specialized skill, to be able to get into Bitcoin. And in that world, just like Karel had in the later diagrams in his presentation, that also creates an infinite number of places where you can actually spend Bitcoin. Because if for every service that you need, then there's somebody else that is willing to earn Bitcoin. And I see that, and I see this as the infinity that we, as the Bitcoin community, should actually be working towards. So if you're thinking of innovation in the space, for me, your basis of determining is this worth pursuing is answering that question. Does it increase the number of ways that people can earn Bitcoin? Or does it increase the number of ways that people can spend the Bitcoin they have without converting it to fiat? But how do we get to this infinity? I strongly, strongly believe that utility is the clearest path to Bitcoin adoption. If technology solves people's problem, you won't have to convince them to use it. And the parallel I use with this, and I probably should find a different parallel at some point soon because I use it a lot. But parallel I use to this is the mobile apps. Because I started the innovation hub in Nigeria right at the dawn of mobile apps. When the biggest conversation in the Nigerian tech ecosystem, developer ecosystem, is should I learn to build iOS or should I learn to build for Android? Now, if you go to my old mom and ask her if she has a mobile app, she will tell you no. But if you ask her if she has WhatsApp, of course. Because when she needs to speak to her grandchildren, she whips up the phone, whips up WhatsApp, and makes a call. Now imagine if someone was trying to convince her to install mobile apps, and they started with a conversation on what's the difference between the iOS and the Android ecosystem, and which one is better and which one is worse, and how do you download the apps, and this is how it works in the back end. She's done. That's the way the majority of Bitcoin education happens right now. The majority of the world do not need to understand decentralization, censorship resistance, all the things that we feel is extremely important. It is irrelevant for majority of the world. What they want to know is, can this thing solve a fundamental problem that I have? And for a huge chunk of the world, their fundamental problem is they don't even have enough money to eat. So if we can figure out how they can get this thing and how they can use it to improve their quality of life, if we can find a way to also make sure that every touch point in their day, from when they wake up in the morning, that involves them touching money or interacting with money, that there is a Bitcoin payment option, you will not have to convince people to use Bitcoin. I love the work that's been done with Pick and Pay. But I think that's a tip of the iceberg of what is possible if more of the minds in Bitcoin are looking in that direction. I think as Bitcoiners, not every Bitcoin solution has to be, like I said, has to be a wallet or an exchange. I think we need to start thinking about what are the utility problems that people have as real humans, and how do we build Bitcoin Lightning-powered solutions that solve those problems, starting with our own niche. 2 years ago, we launched the first Build for Africa hackathon. And last year, we ran it again with the finalists selected at the African Bitcoin Conference in Ghana, encouraging software developers across the continent and anyone else to think about real problems, solutions that solve real problems that real human beings have, and to build prototypes of those kind of solutions so we can convert them and help them walk the journey to become real solutions that are solving the problems that people have. And we saw fantastic ideas. The team that won, Bitpension, It's basically trying to build a tool for people to save for their pension in time-locked Bitcoin wallets. So it's almost like dollar cost average buying Bitcoin, but it's going to your pension, timed to a specific time in the future. Makes it easy for people for whom pension is not even part of the conversation at the moment. What other problems, what other pains can we actually help people scratch with actual real products that are powered by Bitcoin and Lightning? Ahead of that hackathon, we launched a dream board. And if you scan that QR code, you get to it. And that dream board is an open source dashboard where anyone who has an idea or a problem that they think Bitcoin can be used to address can just go there and dump their idea. Or anyone who has the ability to build but is not sure what needs to be built can also go there and copy an idea. Because we understand that oftentimes the people who walk in the circle where the problems are very far from the people who have the ability to build it. And so our intention is to keep expanding and this pool of ideas that you can build that solve real people's problems powered by this technology. The more of those that we can take to market in this part of the world, across the world, the more we make Bitcoin more real to human beings. But here's one that I'm also very passionate about. And again, I have to give hats off to Karel. I hadn't met him before today, and I was going to speak to him. We need to find ways in which we can get Bitcoin integrated into mainstream applications that have achieved scale. Udemy is a popular learning tool that's online. An opportunity for people who have skills to sell their skills through courses. What if you could denominate your course, you had a choice to denominate your course or get paid for your course on Udemy in either Bitcoin or in fiat? And what if Udemy could price the courses on their platform in either Bitcoin or fiat? They have tens of millions of people that take courses on that platform every day. There are millions of people that are on Uber every day. There are millions of people that use Uber Eats every day. How do we engage those platforms that have achieved scale? And how do we get them to integrate Bitcoin as an option for users on their platform? There are conversations that need to happen to make that happen. Are we having those conversations? Bitcoiners like talking to Bitcoiners. But perhaps it's time that we leave the Bitcoin bubble and go start talking to people who have built products that have skilled, that help people live good lives every day. I was in December, I was told to stop punching down on Bitcoin educators, so I won't. But my thought is, I think we need more strategic Bitcoin education rather than just let's educate the mass users about Bitcoin. I think we need to be looking at drivers of scale. The people that, if you get this person orange pilled, this person is sitting on a platform that can get 1 million people on Bitcoin tomorrow. And I gave one example. The founders, the leaders of mainstream application, of mainstream startups, and maybe not even the top tier ones who may be in the radar of the regulators, but the guys that are coming next to them, the challengers. And we have them as our friends. How do we engage them? How do we get them to understand practically what it means to actually, and why, to actually integrate Bitcoin into the solutions that they're building? Or investors. I'm Nigerian. In the last 8 months, the currency of Nigeria has halved in value. This time last year, it was $600 to 600 naira to $1. Today is 1,300 naira to $1. And one of the big conversations in the Nigerian startup ecosystem is about investors who have invested in startups, who invested in startups in dollars. Startups are earning in naira and have to give returns to investors in dollars, but they can't even get the money out. So for the investors, it's an issue. How do I get returns on the money I've put in? For the startups, it's an issue. How do I maintain the value of the income that's coming into my startups? That's a ripe ground for conversation. How do we strategically educate those kind of people? People who we know have influence and can bring millions and millions on board this technology. But I think we also need to tell our story more. We need to do more research and documentation and sharing our stories of real use cases of Bitcoin. We saw the videos of people speaking to the Senate in the US saying, I've never found a real use case of Bitcoin except for drug dealers and money launderers. But we have real use cases. How do we tell those stories more? How do we tell it in the places that people of influence can hear? But also other people can hear and see that as a reason to come on board the bandwagon. And how do we as Africans, particularly we from developing countries, bring our points of view and insights into development of the Bitcoin core infrastructure? And that's what we're trying to do in the work that we do at BitTrust Builders. So for me, I'll round up by saying, I think infinity should be the focus of the work we do if we want Bitcoin to be adopted at scale and to be adopted very fast. And infinity, how do we create an infinite number of ways for people to earn Bitcoin? And how do we create an infinite number of ways for people to spend Bitcoin? If we do that, then all the thoughts that this will take 30 years or 20 years or however many decades might actually not be so far. I strongly believe that Africa is where Bitcoin has come to scale. And I hope that as we continue on the conversations and the conference, as we continue to engage, we'll do all the work that we need to do to get us to the infinity. Thank you very much.
Boss, well done, man. Awesome stuff from Femi. Blew us away again. Fantastic. Also quite a few doses of, reality there, a couple of reality checks. And I'm really glad that he didn't dunk on Bitcoin educators as he has done in the past. So cheers, Femi.